Hey, all, we should be alive. Happy Veterans Day, everybody. And as usual, let's see if I have my little clicker thing. It's working. Great. So, anyway. And the audio is working too. Everything's working today. What a miracle. Anyway, happy Veterans Day. This channel's about math, money, and freedom, and not investment advice, as you guys know. We'll make it quick today because I know it's a holiday for many. And a big thank you to all the veterans out there. We salute you. For all of those who have served and still serve around the world or have served around the world, and everybody who serves anybody in general. And that includes all the frontline workers and everybody else. So big thank you, everybody. So let's look at the market real fast. I set a little marker on the chart of when we began. And basically it was 65, 100. Let's see if it'll go up afterwards. So according to this, we see Bitcoin dominance at 44%. Everything's kind of green, but it's been a weak week so far, excuse the pun. And some things that shouldn't be strong are actually strong. So that's the market. But let's talk and dig into some of the things that we see happening today. So this is kind of a really cool chart, and a big shout out to Sanjay for sending this in. He is so kind. But this is from Ecoinometrics, and it talks about different Bitcoin trajectories going forward. So you can see, obviously, the history is the previous halvings. The orange line is where we are today. And there's three other red lines that I just want to point out for you all, just to put things in perspective of how quickly this whole space is growing. And it's hard really to believe how it came out of obscurity. And now, if Bitcoin hits $128,000, it would match the market cap of Apple today, which is big. And it's not beyond the realm of possibilities as well. And as you know, Apple is the biggest company on earth. If we look at the next one, where I put a little baseball cap, I hope Ecoinometrics doesn't mind me bastardizing their picture a little bit. But you can see the Plan B stock to flow cross asset target model is 288K. And that's where that would be on this chart. Again, based on historical exposures and averages. Again, not beyond the realm of possibility. And Bitcoin at 550K, which would be the market size of physical gold. Again, that would have to mimic what happened in the very first cycle in terms of growth rates. So a little bit about trajectories and where we are, where we could potentially end up. Be interesting to follow. Now, I did talk hedges yesterday. Today, there must have been 10 news articles about hedges and inflation. Obviously, this is good stuff. Everybody had a wake-up call yesterday. It was a pretty rude awakening. And now today, everybody's like, oh my God, how do I get me some hedges? This stuff just got real. So Bloomberg is talking inflation hedges, and Bitcoin has delivered a 99.996% deflation against the dollar. So everybody's jumping on. I hope you got your little Bitcoin insurance yesterday. If not, check out my video. Speaking of the races and hedges, this is the new race to distribute. Not only is hedging critical, but mayors realize that around the country, and they are racing to distribute Bitcoin to their people. And obviously that'll also boost their popularity and help people in this amazingly transformational time. So a big shout out to the mayors in New York and Miami and other places all over the world. But it's not just there where things are changing. Surprisingly, even Vladimir is thinking about jumping in. Vladimir and his crew, the leader of Russia's legislature is calling for a new working group to focus on cryptocurrencies with special attention to the rapidly growing local mining industry, that is Bitcoin mining. Now, today, probably not going to get this name right, Vyacheslav Volodin, he is, I think, the chairman of the State Duma, directed his local deputy to make something happen and make sure they can legalize this whole mining industry because it's growing fast and it's happening without their control. And I think they want a peace. And I hinted at this a while back. Remember, if this is the question of not if, but when, and that is when things like gas and petroleum are denominated in Bitcoin. I see Russia making steps in this direction. They don't want it to be denominated in the dollar. China doesn't want it in the dollar. China wants it in the digital yuan. Russia, I think, would be okay with crypto. So then again, we're watching the game theory play out here, and it's fascinating to watch. Anyway, this was also fun. Well, not fun if you are on the wrong side. But Dylan Leclerc pointed out a huge spike in margin longs, i.e. people betting their Bitcoin on Bitcoin going up in price. And they stuck about 191,200 Bitcoins on the line yesterday. But little did they know, guess what happened next? Anybody? Any takers? Watch. $1 billion liquidated like clockwork. The total positions went from 10.6 to 9.5 billion. And that is just what happens. The whales manipulate. They see these long positions. Everything's transparent in the blockchain. And they just wait and scoop in and grab them, liquidate them. So be careful out there. Don't play with margin unless you really know what you're doing. Because the bullies, the whales, will just take it off you. Anyway, it's not all sunshine and rainbows for Bitcoin. Obviously, the primary cryptocurrency has some critics and detractors. One of them is this guy from Citadel. His name is Ken Griffin. And in a recent interview with, I think it was Dealbook, he opined that Bitcoin is too harmful to the environment. It has low transaction speed. It's vulnerable to fraud activities, etc. And keeping these disadvantages in mind, he believes Ethereum could be a better hedge and superior and ultimately flip the market cap of Bitcoin. It's possible. It's not going to happen for about 5 years. Anyway, each person is entitled to their own opinion. I don't agree with this. But again, my job here is to share all points of view and weave them into the news for you each day. So that's where we are. Speaking of Ethereum, also many fund managers are now looking to Ethereum as a hedge. Not Bitcoin, but Ethereum. And, you know, we've heard the narrative from JP Morgan and others for a long time now that Ethereum is potentially a store of value. Now they're beginning to put Ethereum on balance sheets. And there's companies like Grayscale that are in support of that too. So let's talk a bit about Ethereum, switching gears. Obviously, we all know ETH 2.0 is coming. There's a lot of recent protocol improvements in preparation for this as we go forward. But a couple of things to note is as the merge approaches, consensus out of the US infrastructure bill, which is kind of, I'll come back to the chart in a second, but the US infrastructure bill, which might be threatened now because of the inflation numbers, we'll see. But it said that proof of stake validators and wallet developers are now exempt from the broker classification, which is a big relief for many out there. Now, the CFTC has also clarified and reiterated that Ethereum is a non-security commodity, and it will substantially reduce the likelihood of SEC enforcement actions related to the coin. So, the reg risk is gone from Ethereum, which we talked about for a long time. Now, there's groups like Grayscale's Ethereum Trust are providing direct, non-derivative exposure to Ethereum at a reasonable cost, with the added benefit of custody services. So there are ways to hedge. But looking at this here, you can see that Ethereum has been on a complete tear, up to 4,600. Actually, let's look at the chart right now where Ethereum is. 47.57, 48,000. No, hang on. I'm looking at the wrong number. Yeah, 47.57, 4,800, sorry. So this chart is a little bit old from Seeking Alpha, but the point is, if you look at the Ethereum daily active addresses, they are also on the rise. So this protocol is really being more widely adopted. And again, there are still problems though. Here, this is from Blockworks, and their research shows the average transaction fee on Ethereum 7-day moving average. It gets higher and higher. And Block Research recently found that the continuing growth has been accompanied by an increase in demand for the performing on-chain activities. It's fueled by swaps and liquidity and NFTs. And I'm on the receiving end of people every day, and they're frustrated with how expensive it is to move stuff around. And again, 80% of transactions are now institutional, so the institutions don't care about the average price. I think it's about $53 is the average gas fee for somebody making a transaction on the Ethereum blockchain. And we've noted in the past, they continue to have scaling challenges. But remember as well, the adoption is massive and growing bigger and bigger. And we also know that we focus very heavily on the L1 ecosystems that are beginning to take advantage of this. And we'll talk about that in a second. But anyway, a ton of Ethereum is being leveraged to make this whole thing happen. The whole DeFi space is exploding, and therefore fees are exploding. It's not that it hasn't been able to scale. Now, speaking of this is where Sam Bankman-Fried, he is the CEO of FTX and the richest man in the world under 30 years of age. He said Solana was one of the few blockchains with a roadmap to scale millions of transactions. He said he doesn't believe there are any other blockchains out there that can scale to what's actually required. He said this at a Yahoo Finance conference this week. Now, Bitcoin comes under pressure, comes under fire for not being able to accommodate very many real use cases, despite the fact that Lightning Network is helping that. But the Solana network, he says, can process, as we know, 60,000 transactions a second at 0.0015 cents. Was 0.0015, like 0.15 of a cent per transaction, while Ethereum just handles a tiny fraction of that. And of course, now we saw $57, $58 each right now. Solana is, in his opinion, not my words, I'm repeating his words verbatim here now, one of the few existing blockchains, or the only existing blockchain that has a real plausible roadmap to scale to millions of transactions per second. Remember that. Fractions of a penny. And this is the scale that the world needs going forward. Sam Bankman-Fried said, this has been my thesis from day one. There's a lot of other chains out there that say they can do it, but when you start looking under the hood, you discover that they can't. Now, an example of what Sam is talking about is Brave are now going to integrate their browser with the Solana blockchain. And this will basically expose 42 million Brave users to Solana system. Now, just think about that, 42 million monthly active users and 1.3 million verified creators, and weaving in things like Phantom Wallet and all the other good stuff that comes with this ecosystem. This could be huge. Even the Phantom Wallet went from 1 million users last week to 1.2 million plus today. That's just growing like crazy. And integration of a wallet into a browser is a key part of the future as we go forward. Now, not only are browsers evolving and Web3 and everything else, but so is money. This is an interesting graphic here to show you exactly how the ecosystem has evolved. It starts with moving from stable coins on a pool to asset pools to now the utilization of money. And one of the things that's really growing very fast is not only the TVL being locked up in the Solana ecosystem, grows every single day, but people are now using the series of applications to utilize their money much better, not only for DEX and yield farming, DEX and staking, but now also borrowing and lending money. Full-blown financial services all in one platform. And one of the beneficiaries for that is Solend, which we uncovered and some people are enjoying right now. So it's doing okay. Now, FTX, also related to what Sam said, again, it's like the little Sam Bankman-Fried show right now. He posted this on his Twitter, and he talks about the growth of the different exchanges and how Robinhood and Coinbase had a terrible Q3, and it rocked shareholders. It's done different. Everybody's expecting very good numbers, especially Coinbase, I thought. But the platforms that have gained the most volume and boost during this quarter, literally, FTX is the fastest growing, Binance is number 2, and Coinbase is number 3. Notice the other exchanges are not. They are actually shrinking. So that was kind of an interesting thing to see as well. Now let's talk a little bit about young males in the US dominating crypto. This was a very interesting study as well. It says there in the article, crypto's super user, young men, 43% of US males aged 18 to 29 have bought cryptocurrency. That is a staggering statistic, considering only 16% of Americans have actually bought crypto. 43% of these young men have, and that's a survey of, I think, over 10,000 adults from Pew Research. Now, there's a couple of interesting things here. Obviously, I've always been talking about the gender gap. Only 10% of people that use crypto are women, and that's funny because that number is very similar to my YouTube audience. Cryptocurrency is the most popular with young adults, as we mentioned, especially those under 30. But those between 30 to 50, only 21% use it. 8% of people 50 to 64 use crypto or have bought crypto, and 3% of people over 65 have bought crypto. And the income status doesn't matter, rich or poor. It didn't matter at all in this study, which is kind of interesting. And 70% of upper and middle income people have used cryptocurrency. And same with like 16% of lower income people have used it too. So that was super interesting. But related to that as well, speaking of young, rich millennials, they say no to financial advisors. Thanks for the golf invite. This is from the Wall Street Journal. Thanks for the golf invite, but you can't invest my money because I'm not interested in stocks. I want crypto, I want real estate, etc. They feel they're not getting the type of service they need and would rather pick their own stocks or plow their money into crypto, which is kind of fun. In addition, an interesting stat, related but unrelated from a national poll. This one, I think, was conducted by CNBC, and it talks about that 99% of Americans do not use financial advisors. Not that we give any financial advice here at all, but people don't, which is shocking. So, and another little piece of news, and we do have some people in Indonesia watching this channel, and people in Indonesia, like people in Malaysia, like people in Singapore, they love their crypto. But unfortunately, according to some Sharia tenets, crypto should not be used by Muslims. That is from Indonesia's National Religious Council. They said it's just against their religion. However, I can tell you this, nobody should be prevented from this transformational time, with or without religion. I don't care. And I don't think it's going to stop them either, especially if they're under 30. It's like, okay, my chance at financial freedom, or should I listen to some religious guy? Anyway, enough of that. Not political, not religious, just that I pointed out. Now, a lot of people are asking about what's going to happen next with Tesla and the dumpage and him exercising his options. Elon Musk, of course. We all know at this stage it was all a ploy. He likes to play with the world. He had to exercise options anyway. And because he exercises options, he incurs taxes. Because he incurs taxes, he has to sell shares to pay the taxes. It's all simple. But the real numbers, when you dig into it, are more important. He did exercise about 2.1 million stock options on Monday. And he sold another million, I think, on Wednesday. On Tuesday or Wednesday, he sold about 3.5 million more. So he's up to probably 4.5 million sold. But that is only 3% of how much he holds. So technically, he could be selling another up to 10%, 4.5, at least another 10 million shares, which could have a big, more impact on the down pressure of Tesla as we go forward. So hang tough, everybody. Again, I do expect it to be back into the 3 digits just for a little while and eventually make its way back up to $1,400, $1,500 in the next 6 months or so. But nothing goes straight up. Everything always takes a breather. And this is where we take advantage. So don't freak out. But I think there's more selling to come from Elon Musk. And we admire what he does, despite him being quirky. So I hope you like this content. If you do, please hit the like and subscribe. Let other people find it. Now, I'm going to do a couple of questions. I know it's a holiday. I don't want to bother too many people too much during the vacation if they have a day off. And again, big thank you to all the veterans out there. This question's from Luke. Luke, you're always there. Will Bitcoin suck in altcoins? Bitcoin dominance continues to fall over the years, but Maxi says it's inevitable. Maybe even Matic Link have bled since May. Very good question. So everything runs in cycles, and I think this cycle will be very different. What I do see happening is there will be a suck in from the riskier alts that are out on the risk spectrum that don't have a real valid use case to the high quality ones. And that's why I have a big focus on smart contract platforms and things like Chainlink and Matic, because they are the future and they have real valid use cases. And that's where the money will go, which will include Bitcoin. I always did say, though, it'll be hard for us to go beyond 55% Bitcoin dominance in this market because some of the DeFi chains, DeFi plays have such value. Like Ethereum, like I just spoke, Ethereum is now considered a store of value and a potential hedge. So from that perspective, Luke, yes. I don't think it's inevitable. I see maybe, depending on how high Bitcoin goes, but the max Bitcoin dominance about 55%, 45% would be the rest of the market. But remember, there's now over 13,000 altcoins, and 95% of them are going to zero. So be careful out there, everybody, where you invest. David Guest, The velocity of M2 money is down 25% from 2019. Does this compensate for money printing in terms of inflation? This has a huge impact on the economy and GDP because money's not turning over. I still think it is a huge problem. And also because the velocity of money is so slow, it shows you if the velocity of money was normal, inflation would be even higher because there'd be more money rotating and there'd be more money buying stuff. So that would drive the prices up. So I think from that perspective, if say, for example, this endemic ends, the velocity of money will increase. There's a lot of pent-up demand to go on vacations and go out to fancy dinners and buy stuff, and that will really increase it, but that's not happening right now. And you see that in many stocks that are hit. Somebody asked me a question on a live stream. Is like, check out BNBL. I had no idea what it was, but apparently it got hit today. It's a dating stock. And it got hit, and they blamed C19 on the situation because people weren't dating and their money was down. So I thought that was interesting. But that's an example of how the velocity of money is not there. So Big Tree Blue Sea. If you were light in Bitcoin in your portfolio, would you sell ETH or Sol now? Well, those things will run faster. So the way I see it is, we say call it a 65K Bitcoin right now. It's going to go to 100K. So that's, not a big gain. Whereas the others, Ethereum was going to 9,000. That's a double. And Solana could easily do more. So I just hold tight on those right now and wait and see how they go. And maybe layer out of them and into Bitcoin. If you see them spike up real fast and Bitcoin staying stagnant, use that as a strategic window to swap out if you can. But remember your taxes all the time. Always look at your taxes. And I'll be coming up with some exit models as well for you all. So stay tuned for those. Mustachio Cam, home purchase borrowing 615K at 2.9%. Any reason I should instead HELOC 95K and buy Bitcoin? What's the difference in borrowing for real estate versus crypto? Well, your real estate will always be there. Your crypto may shrink away to nothing, and that's the problem. And borrowing to speculate is always a bad idea. Home equity line of credits as well can be risky. At this stage of the game, I think it's too risky to do. If Bitcoin was at 28,000, 29,000, 30,000, I'd say maybe with a small piece of your HELOC. Like if on the HELOC, if you borrow 95K but made improvements to your home, that's really what it's designed for. And that's how the banks give it to you. And you're fine, but you'd hate to be caught out. And again, it's always risky to speculate. So I can't condone that behavior. Otherwise, I'd be leading people astray, and I'll never do that. So full disclosure now, how much could 2 billion Evergrande payment impact Bitcoin? Do you think Bitcoin prices could then go back to today's prices? I think Bitcoin could then go back to today's price. I'm not sure what today's prices is because that's where we are at now. I think Evergrande has defaulted. The risk is all priced in now. There's a few more shoes to drop. They did scramble to make a payment yesterday. It's not a full payment. So they're still a little bit off. But even if that happens, if it hits the equity markets, it'll be another 5, maybe worst case scenario, 10% haircut if more real estate developers are hit in China and that the paper is written on American paper. That could be a problem, but I'm not too concerned. In terms of your question regarding Bitcoin prices, everything has a drawdown. So we saw right after the inflation news came out, the Evergrande came out about 3 hours later, and that took everything down. It took the equity markets down, and it took Bitcoin and the crypto markets down. So everything is kind of related, but it's temporary. The overall direction of Bitcoin is up. If in doubt, zoom out, as they say. EROC 007, why does everybody discount BCH? Can it be the next BTC? Can you please give detailed reason why it's crap? Also, what's the BCH compendium score? So certain things I don't look at. That includes BSV, that includes BCH, because they're not real. Like I don't want to, if I call somebody's baby ugly on the internet, I get a lot of heat. But all you have to do, look at the 5-year chart or 4-year chart, whatever it is for BCH, and you will see your answer right there. It doesn't track to Bitcoin. It is not Bitcoin. It's sold in a scammy way. The people behind it, you can't be trusted. That's all you need to know. So be very careful, Iraq. And I've been saying this to everybody every single day this year. If you own BSV or BCH, get rid of it. Bye. buy the original and the best. Don't dabble in fake imitations. Richarus, does your coin compendium have XLM in it? Yes, it does. A few thoughts. Extremely bad. XLM is not dissimilar to XRP. Really bad tokenomics, really bad structure, really bad inflation. Same team built it. That's all you need to know. I'm sorry, the score is very poor. And thank you for donations as well. Beyond the Bars, Joseph Piunti, BD McGee, MT, Harley Jane, Technics 1210, Simon G, Tunas on Toast, Kiwi Robin, Bad Kitty, Ryan Mackey, Sanad, Carrie Lee, Dog One, Moto JB, Bad Kitty, American Realist, and Sterling K. Keeping it short today because we know you're on vacation. And take some time off and be careful with your loved ones as I close out. I'll see if Bitcoin is above or below. It is exactly where we started. So the juju was lacking today. Maybe it's because everybody's out. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody. I will see you tomorrow.